Welcome to the Art of Living Free series with Anthony Silard. We would love your support to keep these valuable videos and podcasts free for everyone. To make a donation, please visit theartoflivingfree.org. 100% of all proceeds go to nonprofit education programs. Today, Dr. Silard explores, is it true that we most dislike those we are most unlike?
Hi, I'm Anthony Silard, and welcome to the Art of Living Free. We most dislike those we are most unlike. Well, let's take a look. So as it turns out, research has found that this is not true at all. That actually we most dislike those who are very much like us, but not quite. So to explain this, let me explain the concept of social identity. Your social identity means your feeling of belonging to a group. So for example, Democrat, I'm a Democrat, or I'm a Republican, or if you feel like you're an alumnus of a certain university, or you're a fan of a football or basketball or baseball team, or you're a man or a woman, or you're a young person, or you're an older person. All of these are social identities. So what we tend to do when we have social identities is we tend to notice all the nuances of the people who are also claim that social identity, and then we tend to lump everybody who's not in that social identity into the same group and kind of like consider them all to be more or less the same. So for example, you might say, let's say you're a Democrat. You might say, well, gosh, I know so many people who are Democrats, but they're very unique. I mean, some really feel strongly about anti-abortion. Others are very strong about social programs. Others, whereas Republicans, man, they're all the same. They're just rich, conservative, and they don't care about anyone. Like that's typical. What we do again, our own group, we notice the nuances of, and then the out group, we have a lot of prejudice, and we discriminate and just say that they're all the same. So here's the thing. There's this. So we have these different social identities, and there's this dynamic that's been really well studied, which is called horizontal hostility. And this is fascinating, you guys. Horizontal hostility is that we tend to feel hostile towards those that are similar to us and occupying our social identity, but they're not quite doing it the way we think they should. Okay, so for example, a study in the UK found that conservatives, much more than they hated liberals, they hated near-conservatives. The same thing with liberals. Like they were like, look, if you're going to be liberal, be a real liberal. And so don't be saying you're liberal, but you stand for X, Y, and Z, but you don't stand for Q. Okay? And the people who have the strongest social identities are the ones who most dislike those with the near social identities. That's the horizontal hostility. So in a fascinating survey of vegetarians and vegans, it was discovered that vegans dislike vegetarians 3 times more than vegetarians dislike vegans. Because for vegans, the vegetarians are wannabes, and they're claiming this vegetarian identity, but they're not doing it purely. And so what we tend to do is we don't tend to dislike those we are most unlike. The people we dislike the most tend to be those who are the most like us, but not quite. And the one last thing I'll share about this is that where does this come from? Well, Hermann Hesse, the German author and philosopher, he once wrote that we only hate what is inside us. So the rest we don't really recognize. So for example, do the 99% really hate the 1%? Most of the 99% have no idea what the 1% is like. Most of the 99% most dislike those in the 99% who are similar to them, but not as authentic from their view. It's interesting. There's a long history of tensions between African Americans and Jews. Cornel West, he's written a lot on race relations. He's written a book on blacks and Jews, and so has a number of other authors. And what they find is that in the inner city, back in from the 1950s and earlier, the predominant people who were living there were African American and Jewish. And in many ways, they shared a lot in common, especially feeling oppressed by the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. And so because of that, there were all out racial wars, conflicts between African Americans and Jews, and also lots of very long enduring friendships that existed between these two groups because they felt closer to each other and they had a common oppressor, if you will. So it's interesting, this whole concept of horizontal hostility kind of turns on its head the idea that we're really out against those that are most unlike us. And that's why this is the major problem with social media, because it's led to this extreme polarization where we start to really believe we really dislike those most unlike us. But that's not what happens in reality. And so that's something we need to work to change. We actually shouldn't try not to dislike anyone too much, right? But just recognizing that a lot of our hatred gets misplaced.
Life offers us many challenges, and the artoflivingfree.org offers new ways of thinking so we can see these challenges from a new angle and overcome them. Whether it's Anthony Silard's free blog, video or podcast series, his book, Screened In: The Art of Living Free in the Digital Age, or personalized courses, the artoflivingfree.org will help you refine your life vision and then transform it into action. Find out more at theartoflivingfree.org.